And we are live, folks. Do you find it to be an unsolved mystery as to why we can't get more subscribers? We're looking at the sun on 171 angstroms here. As we see a cycle 24 plage possibly on its way to forming into a sunspot down here south of the equator. I'm going to give you a minute of lead time here, play the song that I meant to play, and I'll be right back. Again, 1 minute lead time. This is 8.5 hours of the sun at 171 angstroms. All right, let's get this underway, folks. Please tell your friends and foes to join the live stream. We're also going to look at this in colored magnetogram, show you that active region rising underneath that plage there. So we're talking about this region right down here. Could form into a sunspot. That is cycle 24 polarity, folks. Let's look at one more view, and that would be the 193 angstroms view, as there are large coronal holes and very low, very weak solar wind and a weak magnetosphere. There are plasma filaments pointing toward Earth, and really 3 gigantic coronal holes, one underneath the plasma near the plage, one north of the equator up here, and one moving into a setting mode toward the west right on the equator. Let's look at more data. Milky Way Galaxy team for the win. And by the way, happy 4th, and thanks for tuning in, folks. Here's a location of your planets and so on. There's what it'll be 1 week from now, 2 days after the Saturn opposition occurs. Next, we're going to look at stereo A, which is located right about here, to show you those plasma filaments that are facing right toward your backyard and your front yard and your side yard and your neighbor's yard. Here's a stereo A coronagraph, and you see a giant plasma plume there, pretty much right in the Earth-facing region. Southern portion of it's a little bit longer than the northern portion. You see those pulsations happening right now. I would also note, speaking of pulsations, that the 10.7 centimeter radio flux is down to 67 as solar minimum drags on. Here's the locations of the stars above my head. Check out in-the-sky.org to make your own custom star chart. Saturn's about to set. Venus is just rising. And if I were at the Atlantic Ocean right now, I would be photographing Venus rising over the horizon because it must be amazing. Shout out East Coast viewers. If you're able to get a view of that, especially with a telescope, go photograph Venus on the horizon. It's amazing. Here's the solar wind stats, which are incredibly low. At least the BZ is in positive territory, reducing the earthquake risk a little bit. We've had an ongoing coronal hole magnetic connection here for hours. So that's a coronal hole connection right there for practically a solid day, as we have a series of coronal holes. Solar wind density excessively low at 0.19 protons per cubic centimeter. And you're going to see this reflected in the magnetosphere movies, folks. Solar wind speed still at solar minimum conditions as well, 334 kilometers per second. Slow and low, the tempo continues. Here's the ACE backing up that data. That's 1 day of ACE data. And 10.7 centimeter radio flux at 67, which is about as low as she goes. Next we're going to look at the magnetosphere movies. And you want to talk about a weak magnetosphere. Here's what one looks like. This is probably the weakest data we've ever seen on this channel. Nothing but a low pressure magnetohydrodynamic environment there. Tiny bit of high density just around the planet. There's a little bit higher density coming in from the solar wind, a little fluctuation. Keep in mind this model is created using solar wind data. Here's the pressure, and there's not going to be much to speak of. Let's see if any pulse happens when that higher density moves in. We should see a little bulge coming up soon. There you go. So that's the weakest magnetospheric pressure we've ever seen on this channel. Quite sure of that. Let's move on to the geospace ground perturbations. Changes in the Earth's B field. For all you polar excursion, pole flip, pole reversal, magnetic current reversal, electric field, whatever you want to call it. Not expecting to see very many perturbations. Let's see if anything happens at that tiny little density spike we saw. Tiny little perturbations there in both poles, not surprising, as that induced some current to flow through the planet. But not much happening. Let's move on. Again, happy 4th. Check out Patreon to help support the channel. Thanks, patrons. And some of these posts are visible to all. So some of these are public. Occasionally we put up graphics here for just our patrons. The only tier we have is $1. So please open up your moth-filled wallet, dust off the cobwebs, and pay us $1 a month. Maybe it'll increase our viewership. Also, support the channel via our Spaced Out campaign, also available in the links below this video. That's the Hemp Lucid Spaced Out campaign. Again, links in the description below this video. There's a sale going on for whole plant CBD hemp seed oil suspensions, 1,000 milligrams, 30% off. That's a large savings. Also, we've got Kalki products, which are certified THC free. Other things like waxes and lip balm and gummies and body creams, and even CBDs for your pets. The fish flavor is still on sale for 30% off. So if you're buying CBDs, please visit us there. Now, I need a new bottom bracket for my bike, which I'll be getting soon here, from the Velo Shop. Now, that's a real cycling sponsor and a real cycling team. We got people currently wearing world champion jerseys. That would be Kim Geist for the team sprint, and that is a track time trial. And if you're interested in getting your corporate logos on the jerseys, please email me at smashomash@gmail.com. And I will get you in touch with the appropriate party or parties, which is Becky Quinn, the owner of the shop. And thanks for everybody who's donating. It's a big deal, and you're increasing the likelihood that this channel will continue. There's also original music featured in these videos, and some of that can be purchased to add to your MP3 collection. Let's get Gem Cutter up higher on the list. What do you say, folks? Add it to your MP3 collection for $1.25, or just stream it for free, like this. Anyway, check out the links in the description below the video. Once again, soundclick.com/goldencatproductions. Also, check out SoundCloud for some older, more obscure stuff, if you like the original music. I don't know why we're on spaceweather.com. There's got to be some reason, but we're just going to move on. Keep this video as short as possible so you can start grilling burgers and drinking beers or whatever else it is you're going to do on the 4th. And again, to our international viewers, happy American Independence Day. Magnetometer is looking a little smoother as we proceed through the North Pole heliospheric current sheet portion of the heliosphere. KP is up to 1 from 0. We are expecting a KP of 4 event tomorrow as a coronal hole wind stream hits. Electron flux looking a lot better than it did on the first, where it was at incredibly low levels. No charging hazards. F2 layer is looking very discharged on the nighttime side and fairly normal on the daytime side. So look for this to fluctuate throughout the day wildly, especially with the solar wind as low as it is. This is probably going to discharge. The longer it stays that magnetohydrodynamically discharged, the more of that discharge will make it to the ionosphere, as there is a semiconductor-like delay. Aurora forecasts are very weak. You got to be pretty far north or pretty far south to see that. Here's the Gong 2 data. Just make sure this is the newest. And you'll see the Earth has passed into the green zone here, which is the North Solar Polar Field associated portion of the heliospheric current sheath, or sheet, whichever you'd like to call it. And that is the spiral of plasma that the sun is spitting out constantly. Now, this data is 1 hour and 58 minutes old. And we're looking for smooth sailing as far as the ghost magnetometer readings for the next 24 hours. Although, again, we are going to get hit with a coronal hole wind stream, and that's going to change things around because plasma changes the environment. So follow us on social media also if you haven't already done so. If you're on Twitter, we're on Twitter, twitter.com/smAsho. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/smAsho. We do interact there a bit, despite the horrific software. Also on Instagram, you may even see things like recipes or Three Stooges clips. So follow me there. It's a little bit less space weather and more silly things and personal stuff.
It's tremendous. It's colossal. It's putrid. Right. Now what are we stalling?
Also on Gab. Gab.com/smashamash. We're actually going to start using this as an alternative to Twitter, perhaps, if it's good. We've got some original posts up there that are only available on Gab. Also on Minds.com. Minds.com/smashamash. The open source social media that won't censor you. It won't shadow ban you. You get all the views that you're due. And we are taking our good old time to make it to 500,000 views. Barely over 700 subscribers. Anyway, minds.com/smashamash, the social media that won't censor you. Also, if you enjoy our content, please don't forget to like and subscribe to videos, press the notification bell, as we remain pegged at 1,337 subscribers for some reason, which I find very odd. Oh, we gained 1 subscriber. So over the last month, we're at a net of only -22 or something instead of -23 subscribers now. Do a cosmic ray rundown, since this video is going to be pretty short. Here's a Patati. It's cosmic ray monitor. And we are talking neutrons. Also Barentsburg. There's Barentsburg. Nothing to write home about going on there. Here's Athens. We will see some wild spikes in Athens back on the 26th. But since then, nothing particularly noteworthy. Let's look at Mexico City. Fairly nominal range there. Here's Moscow. Moscow's like on an upswing the last few days. And we'll look at Oulu and Antarctica, DOMC and DOMB. There's Oulu. Nowhere near the levels observed in 2009. Here's DOMC Antarctica. And here's DOMB Antarctica. Nothing noteworthy on the cosmic ray front yet, folks. Links in the description to that stuff also if you'd like to monitor the cosmic rays yourself. Earthquake rundown. check it out. We see a 6.2 off of Canada, but let's go through it in order here. 4.7 in Nicaragua. That's at 81.2 kilometers depth. Let me get this zoomed right. Okay, I think that'll be okay. All right, I apologize for the delay. Here's a 4.4 at False Pass, Alaska, out in the Aleutian chain. Here's a 4.2 at Guatemala. Here's a 4.6 at Vanuatu at nearly 200 kilometers depth, portending a larger quake at the surface there. Here's a 4.6 in Indonesia. 4.1 off the coast of Oregon. We've seen an uptick in activity there in the past week. Another very deep quake at Fiji, 574 kilometers. 4.9 at Kamchatka. 4.2 in China. Quite far into the Asian plate there. Here's a 4.7 near Coho, Alaska. 4.1 off of Oregon, so more unrest there. 4.5 at Fiji, again at 569 kilometers. If that happened at the surface, that would be nearly a 6 magnitude quake. Very deep. Here's a 4.4 at Argentina as the risk of larger quakes at the surface continues, with another 4.3 at Chile. So if you're in South America, be prepared. You're getting deep quakes, and the likelihood of a larger quake at the surface remains a risk for you. So be an asset, not a liability in the event of a disaster. Know which buildings might crumble. Go outside and look up. Have a bug out bag. Have a little bit of extra supplies laying around just in case the power goes out for 2 days or 2 weeks or 2 years. How about a 5.2 in China? It's a 4.6 in Afghanistan as the Middle Eastern quakes continue. And check that one out. That's a deal there. 6.2 looks like it's just north of Vancouver. Anyway, there's a location of that. Looks like it's largely uninhabited. If you're in Canada and you felt that one, please leave a comment. Tell us if you saw a salt and pepper shaker fall off your stove. There's a 4.2 for another quake in Iran, a 4.7 in Iran also, as the Middle Eastern quakes continue at least once or twice a week. This week, more like 5 or 6 times. 4.6 in Indonesia. And let's move on to pressure maps, courtesy of windy.com. Windy.com, providing a great mobile app also. Install it on your mobile device and know what's going on above your head long before it happens. Anyway, there's the current pressure map situation. I'm just going to move on from here to volcanoes. Let's do a rundown. Volcano rundown. Kuchaskoy, producing a 20,000 foot ash plume. Sakurajima, 7,000 foot ash plume there. Tukono, 7,000 foot ash plume there. Popocatépetl exploding, producing a 26,000 foot ash plume there. Sangay, 21,000 foot ash plume there. Revenador exploding, similar to Sangay and Popocatépetl, 16,000 foot ash plume there. And Sabancaya's explosive activity continues as a 30,000 foot ash plume is forming, has formed. Please do not attempt to skip rope over the Sabancaya caldera. It would be unfortunate for your health. ScienceAlert.com is reporting an incredibly rare type of lava lake was just found hidden in sub-Antarctica. Now, most lava lakes aren't really lava lakes. They're just pools that form temporarily during volcanic eruptions. Lava lakes, there's only a few of them around the world. We're talking about persistent lava lakes. Now, this one's under a bunch of snow. Links to the article in the description. Pretty cool. Not the best fishing spot, lava lakes. You probably won't catch anything there. And your line will probably snap. U.S. Doppler radar indicating we've got South Dakota, Kansas, Nebraska, Minnesota getting hammered. And a strong storm off of North Carolina that we attempted to document last night and were upended by horrific software courtesy the Android operating system, which is a jalopy that barely functions. Nasty storm off the coast there, and if I were in North Carolina today, I would be in the breakers wearing a wetsuit with a surfboard, because that is awesome. And let's take a close look at it, as we saw some amazing convergences last night. Let's see what's going on this morning before it's even light out in the same area. Perhaps I will release the video later today. I have uploaded it to a very junky cloud application called Google Drive, which also barely functions. See, the main problem with Google software is that Google does not understand how to write software to save its life. Any operating system needs to be built around a file system, and Google has no idea what a file system is. Google has menus that say share instead of save. You're supposed to have a menu that says file, save, open, save as, all that stuff. No, Google puts share, and they have no idea how to write a piece of software, which is why it is such a pain to do these videos. Anyway, there's that convergence line. We've got a very odd southerly flow going on here. It looks like a jet stream curve coming down across Maryland in this sort of an area, and it's causing stagnant convective forces to just sit around here off the coast of North Carolina, as they did all night, in fact. Let's move on, because if you're out on a boat with George Clooney and Marky Mark Wahlberg, please get below decks, because there's nothing worse than seeing a hunk get struck by lightning. Now we've moved on to the that's an ass and that is a hole in the ground section of the video. Let's talk about Google, a real term.
Google.
The figure 1 followed by 100 zeros equal to 10 to the 100th power, known as a Googleplex, a 1 with 100 zeros after it, was a giant number, was just named just because it's a giant number. Let's talk about a verb.
Google
is a great way to obtain totally hack search results. Let's define it. To use the Google search engine to obtain utterly biased information about someone or something on the World Wide Web. To repeat, Google is to use the search engine to obtain utterly biased information about someone or something on the web. Let's talk cosmology. Links in the description to this article also regarding gravitational lenses, gravitational lensing of quasars, and measuring the spin of the quote spin and quote of quote supermassive black holes and quote, which are just massive condensed matter, massive sources of condensed matter. We call them radio sources in the real world of cosmology. And let's just play a clip so as to not get banned, demonetized, or otherwise screwed over by YouTube. So if you're not familiar with quote gravitational lensing and quote, it's not caused by gravity. It's caused by things like electromagnetic fields and dusty plasma. But sadly, general relativity has a lot of astronomers believing that this is caused by gravitational phenomenon. In any case, there's been some additional study on these lensing phenomena, as lensing does happen because when light shines through highly energized plasma, it refracts the light. So anyway, interesting paper about a very fast, quote, spinning, and quote, black hole, end quote. Anyway, welcome to the neo-renaissance, folks, because physics is being rewritten, especially astrophysics. Highest gamma rays ever measured by the Tibet as gamma experiment coming out of the Crab Nebula. Links to this article also. An estimated 450 tera electron volts. That's a lot of volts. If you're interested in looking at transients for the Crab Nebula, well, right there they are. You can see it's just turned on in the past 5 days. So there's that. And also links to the Neil Gorel Swift Observatory. That's where you can find all this sort of stuff. For instance, if you wanted to look up, oh, I don't know, how about Cygnus X3, right? Just type in Sig X-3, and there you go. There's the transients of the star Deneb, also known as the tail of the swan in the constellation Cygnus. A massive X-ray binary. And it's looking pretty weak right now in the past couple of days. Let's move on to another article. Binary stars with unexplainable dimming pattern. Anyway, I'm not going to really comment on this other than to say read the article. I'm not sure if we have this one in the transients or not. Feel free to look it up on your own. And another article here from phys.org about the detection of spike-like structures near the front of a shock-driven solar radio burst. Now, back in the 90s, I thought radio astronomy was boring. And now I realize that astronomy professors were correct back then. Radio astronomy is the most interesting branch of astronomy. So we're seeing, normally we see herringbone structures, not these spiky structures here. The leading edge of the radio burst. And again, I'm not going to comment further. I'm just going to move on, as it is about time to open up the chat and see what y'all are up to on the 4th of July. Please let us know what you're cooking. We're just making cheeseburgers and some grilled vegetables. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and thanks for taking the time to leave a comment. And thanks, smAsho staff, for all your hard work. One last thing, I wanted to just put up this solar polar field strength versus time graph. Now, this one hasn't been updated since New Year's. We are looking for an update on this here, as this is some interesting stuff. And while we could plot this, I'm not doing the work. So anyway, check out solon.info for some data that we don't typically cover on the smAsho stream. Again, thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're going to bring up one more view of the sun here. We're up to 9 hours now. 9 hours and 15 minutes. How about the 171 angstroms view? Actually, we already saw that one. Let's go to the 94 angstroms view. Just trying to get through the comments, folks. I apologize for the dead air. By the way, this track is called You, Me, Us, and it's located at soundclick.com/goldencapproductions. We are not typecasted to do anything in any order or at any time on this channel, so all suggestions and criticisms are welcome. Anyway, thanks again for tuning in, everybody. Thanks for staring at the sun and being spaced out. Please support the channel by visiting the links in the description if you are able and you enjoy the content. Remember, when you're staring at the sun, don't drink. And if you drink, stare at the sun anyway. Use the proper instruments like the SDO. Don't drive. Have a happy 4th of July. And since it'll never be now again, may the solar wind be at your back and the atherosclerosis absent from your veins.